Welcome to the Hacking Your Health podcast with Ben Canning and Dave Kennedy. Two guys heading out to hack body, mind, business, and beyond. We are here to provide a single source, bullshit-free guide to understanding your body and how you can live better for longer.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a very special episode. I'm Ben Canning.
And I'm Dave Kennedy.
And I'm Shaun Doherty.
Good to have you. Good to have you. This is the Hacking Your Health podcast, so welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Cool. So, Shaun, for anybody who doesn't know, well, I'll let you do the intro. You do your own intro.
Flipping hell. The longer intro for kind of why I'm here would be engineer in my early 20s, work in London, diagnosed with cancer at 24, told to get my affairs in order at 26, married at 27, got the all clear 27 too from cancer, changed my lifestyle, diet, outlook on life, realised the importance of the small things that I was neglecting. And it's been a long road to get to where I am now. Worked as a wedding photographer for a while, worked as a financial advisor for a while, and then the tools, tips, tricks, and tactics that got me where I am, I now work in trying to give those back to people in a small way.
Cool, perfect. I think, obviously you and I have spoken before, and I think one of the things that I got from you is that, the lessons that you've learned along the way, you want to share them and you want to help people sort of, I guess not avoid, but how to manage different situations and things like that. And I think that's one of the reasons that we were able to connect in, and obviously, bringing you within the group and the odd weekly group call and things like that.
Yeah, it's been, I had to get to a point where I was literally told, look, there's nothing we can do for you. Get your affairs in order, before I started realizing that I have some control over, and anything I say here, I want to preface as well that I was very lucky. I'm very lucky to be here. And sometimes the situation is just crap. And there's, I'm not trying to spout any dogma on nutrition and people's cancer journey. I know that there's two Irish celebrities got themselves in hot water over claiming that you can just fix anything. I had a lot of luck on my side, a lot of great people on my side, several teams of phenomenal doctors on my side, and a lot of people who passed on the other side of the veil looking out for me as well. So I'm well aware of all that, but it took me literally to get that news until I started looking into my own activities, what input I was putting in, and the effect I was having on my own body, mindset, outcome. And I still remember the first time a lady said to me, she was in her 60s, that, every action you've ever taken has led you to be exactly where you are in this moment. And I was kind of like, well, what do you mean by that? She's like, it's your fault. I was like, fucking how dare you? And then I went home and sat about this, and I was like, well, if it's my fault, it means I can fix it. Whereas if it's not my fault, I'm totally powerless to the situation. And the first conversation I had with my, the very first doctor in 2011, it was like, how did I get this? And he just said, bad luck. And there is a degree of that, yes, but I was not living a lifestyle that was conducive to, a healthy 24-year-old. I was really stressed at work. I was working around the clock. And then with that, you think you're allowed to go out Thursday, Friday, Saturday to blow off the steam from that. And then that just perpetuates a downward cycle of poor performance on Monday, which leads to working harder, which leads to more stress, which leads to more partying. And, lo and behold, you're diagnosed with cancer at 24. Many people get through it. Many people don't have that. Just the way my body was set up at the time, I was one of the ones that fell down.
I think, maybe not to that extreme. And, I think as well, even, when people say cancer, there's already that, like, it's a bad word, almost like it's already like it carries weight with it. So maybe not to that scale, but I think, anytime that I'm having a call, or the majority of the time when I'm having a call, the reason that I'm having that call is because somebody has said something about their health and they're like, you need to do something about this now. And I think, you know, a lot of what I see what you're doing is it's almost trying to not get to the stage where you have to have that conversation, and doing things to sort of preempt that, and doing the things to sort of, you know, there's a lot of, and I guess even, you know, with Dave, with you, with the industry, and, you know, we've obviously spoken about this before in terms of like how unhealthy it can be, sort of ways that we can sort of begin to help people so they're not actually getting to the stage where they're like, oh shit, right, I need to do something about this now before it's a shit show.
Yeah.
Well, I think, you know, Shaun, you hit on a couple of points there around what's very similar in our industry, in the security industry, which, you know, you have people that are just, you know, working till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, just working insane amount of hours. And on top of it, you know, they release that through partying or through eating or through alcohol or through whatever. And it's that continual process that continues to wear our bodies down. And I was in the same boat. You know, what kind of got me on my health kick is, you know, I was severely overweight. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was, you know, staying up copious amounts of hours. I wasn't regenerating my body. I wasn't eating right. I was drinking a lot of alcohol. And, you know, I had heart surgery at 25 years old. And the doctor said, listen, this is because you're treating your body like shit. And you're not going to be here for your kids unless you start to change your lifestyle and how you handle things. And that's really when I started to look at it and say, hey, I probably need to do something here to make a change. And, you know, I was fortunate. My heart defect, you know, my heart issue that was, you know, caused by my weight and a few other things was fixable, which is great. But a lot of people, I mean, cancer, you know, in a lot of cases is a death sentence, right? In some cases it's not, in some cases it is. So I can't even imagine, you know, going through that and seeing, oh my gosh, like I'm not going to make it through this, you know, and then having to fight and to say, hey, maybe I can. I'm going to fight every aspect of this to see if I can actually push through this. And you made it through. I mean, tell us a little about that and kind of the experience there, and then kind of how that changed your life, because that's interesting to me.
Yeah, and just when you say the death sentence, like one of the first things that came to my mind is a conversation I used to have with people, and it's like, look, we're all terminal. I'm just a little bit more terminal than you are, you know. Yeah. So it's it is a death sentence, but it's just a slightly faster death sentence. Yeah. So sorry, I'm going to ask you to rephrase that once again, because just with me touching on that, I've completely lost what you're looking to get to.
You know, as you're going through that experience of, like, you know, the doctor's basically saying, hey, start getting your affairs in order, you're not going to make it. You know, what really changed you to have that mindset of, I'm going to fight this tooth and nail to the end? And then how did you maintain that through the rest of your life and what you do today?
I still remember that night that I was told it. We were in an apartment in Dublin. The hospital have apartments for, you know, I lived at the time 4 hours from the hospital, so you could stay there. And I still remember we had a 4-star pizza at a can of Fanta, which is an orange fizzy drink. I don't know if you have that in America.
We have those here.
I do that all the time. I'm like, I have to describe what this is in case they don't know what it is.
And I remember pressing my back against the radiator. It was scalding, and I would press my t-shirt again until it would get too hot, and then I would come off it, and then I'd press back, too hot, and it was like that feeling of, I'm feeling this. And literally the next day, it was there must be people who've been in my situation before. You know, I can't be the only person on planet Earth, and very fortunate to live in an age where you can literally just type something into a computer, and you find forums, you find hundreds of people. So the first thing I did was you're bordering into woo-woo territory for some people, but I went and got tested for, you know, foods that didn't work for me. So cut out dairy, cut out wheat, cut out sugar almost instantly. Noticed a huge uptick in energy from that, and that was like, oh wow, okay. So and the lady described it to me as, if you've got 100 energy units a day, if you're eating food that isn't designed for your body, you're wasting 30 energy units just to process the food that you're putting in. So you're starting at 70 before you even start the race, you're at 70%. Whereas if you're eating stuff that your body's designed to, you know, good, healthy food that's actual food, then you're coming at 100 points, and you're out of the gate, you've more energy. There was no one thing. There's been loads and loads and loads of really, really small things. And for me, it was the realization of, everything I do is moving the needle. Mentally, for me, it felt like I was, when I was eating broccoli, it's like this is moving the needle. When I was eating, like I don't eat meat anymore. At the time, I did a stage of just meat and vegetable and wheatgrass and juices, and that was the first time I seen any noticeable change in my scans. And I'm not one to say one diet. Like there's tons of people have cured illnesses with meat, and there's tons of people have cured illnesses. Just find what works for you and go with that. Because if you want evidence for whatever diet you're on, you're going to find it. And if you want evidence to disprove whatever diet you're on, you're going to find it. So whatever works for you, that's the one I would say go with. I'm not here to try and convince anybody of anything. And it was really small steps that you would see through a little improvement in energy. And a big thing that I struggled with for the longest time was I went from 96 kilos, which in pounds is, I don't know, 200, 210?
Ish, yeah, around about that, yeah.
Yeah.
To 73, and I'm going to have to drop, 73?
It's like 160, 160, 165.
Yeah. So I'm a whisper under 6'4". So in the space of a year, I lost that, and that has a real it has quite an effect on your ego and how you perceive yourself. Whenever you look one way for 5 or 6 years, and then in the space of a year you're a shadow of a person. And I still have those photos that I look at, I look back at that person and how he was struggling, and but just day by day by day. And the first time I got into goal setting and putting things down, I would write down, I am 94 kilos in weight, I don't take any injections, I don't, and I haven't weighed in a long time, but I'm sitting at about 92, 93 at the minute, slow and steady comeback. And it has really been, whenever you say how it worked through, I went obsessive. Like, I mean, if there was, I remember going to a restaurant at home where, it's quite, you get, it's a local family restaurant, so you just get everything thrown at you, all the side trimmings. And I looked at the menu, it's like, there's nothing here I can have. It's like, give me salmon. I don't want any sauce. I don't want, like, the potatoes are creamed. It's like, just salmon. And they're like, we must give you something. And I was like, no, I just want the salmon. I didn't take any sauces. I remember at Christmas, people said, will you have chocolate? And I said, if I'm alive next Christmas, I'll have chocolate. It's like, this Christmas, and at Christmas dinner, I had turkey, I had potatoes, just straight potatoes. I had, like, green juice, and that was how I lived for, a long time. And then as I started getting through different treatment, got the all clear in May. I actually spent the night in hospital when I got the all clear because I went into shock, because I just wasn't expecting it. And the reason those scans were taken was because my bloods were all over the place. And then mentally really struggled after getting the all clear. So seen a counsellor, and she was saying, look, you're exactly where you're meant to be. Typically speaking, what you see is during the fight, you're so focused on the fight that's okay. And then you come through the far side and it's like, what the hell do I do now? Kind of like
yeah.
I imagine what a lot of people who do a 12-week transformation go through. It's like, shed the weight, get cut. Congratulations, now you're on your own. Oh, fuck, what do I do now?
Well, I have to imagine the mindset there, of not thinking you can win to, oh my God, I can beat this, to I actually beat it is got to be just a roller coaster of emotions on everything. Because you're all in. You're 100% all in. Now, what do you do now that you've won, right? Yeah,
and that was it. And it was very much like I wish I took more notes at the time, because I just really bad place. And the therapist was saying, she says, look, what got you here isn't going to get you there. It's like the level of strictness you've been with yourself is actually going to end up holding you back. It's like, you need to bring in give and take. You need to learn to let go every so often. And I do. I let go loads. But then whenever I look at the bigger picture, like a bad week's eating might be 2 ice creams at the weekend. And it's a strange mental thing where I have this belief that for it to be effective, it has to be hard. Because as I've got, obviously now I'm years into this, and I know how to cook, and I know how to feed myself, and I know it's easier. Because whenever I stopped eating meat, the first thing for me was like, well, what the fuck do I eat? Because Jesus, all I had for 26 years was like meat, potatoes. pasta, meat, eggs, sausages, cornflakes and milk in the morning. And then like literally overnight, like, right, no meat. I had a clue what to eat. So it took me a long time
You can also eat extremely unhealthy as being a vegetarian. I was vegetarian for 6 years, and it was some of the heaviest that I actually was when I was a vegetarian. You know, I mean, you get into pastas and everything else and breads. And I mean, you know, just because you're a vegetarian doesn't mean, you know, hey, you're living a healthy lifestyle. It's really about what you eat. And, you know, as you said, it can be hard, you know, to get through that piece there.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so many vegetarian vegans. And it's kind of like this fad, or not fad, but you know, when you see gluten-free, oh, it must be healthy. It's like, you can eat plenty of crap when it's gluten-free.
Right. Oh,
you know,
yeah.
It's like one of the things that really helped me was, and this was whenever I was still eating meat, it was like, your food should be ingredients. It shouldn't have ingredients. And that you know, that just in itself was, and
I think
as well,
it's a powerful.
Yeah.
That's a powerful statement. Your food shouldn't be made of ingredients. It should be the ingredients that you're eating, right? Yeah.
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 And one of the things as well was whenever I did that, I became hyper aware of the packaging in the shop. It's like everything's yellow, everything's bright, it's like, because whenever you're literally shopping at the produce and, you know, the organic meats or salmons, and that's it. And you're growing sprouts and you're growing wheatgrass, you become aware of, wow. And then you look at, it's like, you know, if you can't pronounce it, don't consume it.
Yeah.
Which is again, like now I will have the occasional, you know, the sausage sandwich, vegan sausage, and it's, you're lying busted for half an hour afterwards, or for 4 hours afterwards. You know, I still now know, I can gauge by what I eat if it's good for me or not. You know, I'll have like I still have goat's cheese. That's one thing I'm not giving it up. Life's too short to not have goat's cheese.
So funny story on the goat's cheese. We went on vacation just recently to Grand Cayman, and they had this quattro formaggi pizza that my kids ordered, and it had goat cheese on there. And my wife was like, hey, make sure you don't get the goat cheese on there. The kids won't like that. I'm like, no, they got to experience it. They'll love it. And it had goat cheese on there, and none of them would eat the pizza. So
I'm a big fan. I think it's like a development thing. Like, I think it's
it's like a sour cheese is the best way, you know. But I liked it, but the kids, they're like, no, not eating this. So like, okay.
Where my love for it came was after the transplant, I lost taste for months. You know, so really strong flavors was the only thing I could get flavor from. So disgusting things that I'd be like, oh, I can actually taste this. Like, so then as the taste came back, then I still had that palate.
Still kind of yeah. That's funny. Well, there's some science behind it too of how you can train your body to like certain things, and you know how the more you eat it, you know, the more you eat things that you don't like, the more that you start to develop an actual taste that you like. And granted, if you're like, this is miserable every single time and you're crying, you're not going to enjoy it. But I mean, it's amazing the foods that we start to like over time that we probably didn't like when we were kids or whatnot.
Guinness. Case in point.
Beer, liquor, you know, coffee.
No, it's not Guinness. It's actually in America. It's an Irish car bomb. They just don't drink a fucking pint of Guinness. It's bastardized with other shit.
We always go above and beyond, and that's what America's about. So instead of just having Guinness, you're doing a shot on top of Guinness. So
110%, Dave.
That's right, all the time.
Yeah, and then it was, you know, finding my feet, noticing energy slowly coming back. Had to be really strict around sleep was a big one, because I just didn't have, I was so fed up of having to sleep for 3 or 4 hours during the day. So I'd find myself, I write bed early and then I'll get up and then I can get a full day. And it really wasn't, there was no one day where it's like, I've got energy. You just notice. I used to keep a log of, okay, it's been 4 weeks since I've been in hospital. It's been 5 weeks. It's been 6. And then, okay, got an infection. Back in. Shit, clear that again. And that was a long time where you get to a year out, get to, you know, 2 years out. And that's, like, even where I am now, some of the things that come up for me, and I have it written on my whiteboard in the gym, is that you owe it to you. It's like I have a photo of me at 73 kilos, sick as a dog. And my sister, like her oldest child, May, is 8 this year. And she didn't want to tell me she was pregnant because she just thought I wouldn't be alive to see the birth of May. So whenever May became, she was born, it's like, okay, well, there's my goal. I've got to see May on her first day of school. And then just little, stupid games with yourself that you play. Like most people are competitive. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to see if I can do this. But it's that, like every time I complain about something that I couldn't do, I'm insulting that person. Seriously insulting them. Like I had to stop and catch my breath walking upstairs. My first date with my wife, we had to stop so many times. I just didn't have the breath to do it. And that can be applied to any situation. Like maybe you're not insulting someone from your past, but at some point, whatever you're doing today, you're not going to be able to do it. So if you're dreading the gym, there will come a point where you will wish you could only do the things that you're complaining about today. And every time you complain about it, you are like, I really mean it, you're insulting either the past or the future version of yourself.
Well, I think what you're explaining there too, obviously a pretty substantial shift in your life based on, the cancer and everything that you went through, near death and all that stuff. But it's also the same thing that we talk about on a regular basis here on the podcast, which is, you talk about whole foods, for example. Ben is a huge proponent of at least 80% whole foods, things that have, one or two ingredients, that you can pronounce. Yeah. Getting out there and going to the gym and being active and looking at your past and saying, this is who I was yesterday, but it's not who I have to be tomorrow. And having that long-term mindset of, hey, I'm going to continue to live a healthy lifestyle. Maybe that ticker that, is a certain date is pushed back a bit, right? And maybe I'm here longer for my kids, or maybe I'm here longer for my family, or maybe, by cutting out dairy or whatever, else, you start to understand, hey, now I have more energy to be active with my kids, to go out there and to go to hit the gyms. So those small, and I say they're small changes, they're actually big changes in the grand scheme of things, but the small changes that we implement, I like how you answered that too. You said, it wasn't one thing, it was a multitude of small things that I did over time that led me to who I am today and where I'm going and where I've been. And I think that's the thing that people, I think, fail to realize is that we always see these fad diets, or we see, hey, lose 15 pounds tomorrow. You're not going to be happy when you lose 15 pounds. You're just going to gain those pounds back, and you're still not going to be happy with, your routine or your health or anything else out there. So it's these small changes that we make incrementally over time that have such a monumental and catalyst impact on us in the future. And I always look back at my old self of, 320-pound Dave. And, I like that guy. He was an awesome guy. But he's not who I am today. And I'm sure, Dave then is going to be like, damn, dude, you look great today. That's awesome. Congratulations. And that's, to insulting your past, that person then is going to be like, I can't believe you're where you're at today. That's incredible. Nice work. And so, I always look back at old Dave and I'm like, I love old Dave. Like, that's who I was. That was me. That's who made me who I am today. But it's not who I am today because I've put the things into place to allow me to be who I want to be and continue to grow in that journey, right?
Yeah, and that really speaks to one of the things that at the time I struggled with, and then you get the lesson. The lesson always comes after the event for whatever reason, whatever way the game's rigged.
Yeah.
So I would, be like, okay, I'll be this weight by this date. By Christmas, I'll look like this. I'll have. And the date would come and go, and I would have been in hospital 2 or 3 times, and you just get disheartened. But now that I look back, it's much more important to be concerned about the direction you're facing than the speed you're going. So it's like, are you roughly pointed towards where you want to be in 10 years? It's that cliche of we underestimate what we can do in a year versus, we overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 10. It's like, look, if you just turn up 2 or 3 days a week, eat 80% actual food, and that's another one of my favorite things I've ever heard. It's like, there's no such thing as junk food. There's junk and there's food. And then are you pointed in the right direction? And know that a Saturday blowout once every 2 months doesn't derail you. Are you just facing in that right direction? And if you are, just keep moving one step at a time, and you're going to get there.
So really quick, Ben, you're going to see on the check-in on Sunday that I definitely.
But I think there's a lot to be said about that, and even with you, Dave. Like, I think that the lessons that come with knowing that you can not get away with, but you can go and enjoy things, and it's not the fucking end of the world. Because you know, I remember times that something would have happened that, you know, you would have been out, or you know, people over for dinner or poker night or whatever, and you would have overconsumed on calories, and then you're fucking freaking out the next day.
Yeah.
And it's like, number one, you think that you're going to wake up and be Big Dave again, and number two, you feel like all the habits and all the sort of routines that you've built up over the 6 months or year, or however long it's been that
going to go away
together, are away all of a sudden because of one day, and you're sort of you're almost like bringing yourself back to that identity of the person that you were before, when in actual fact it's fine, because, you know, we don't need to go and fucking murder ourselves and doing 60 minutes of the Versa climber. I'm like, why don't we just not do that, and we just draw a line in the sand and move forward from today?
Well, I think that was one of the biggest things for me to recognize from a mental perspective, is that all of the, and I want to call them habits, because they are my lifestyle. It's my habits of what I do today. So my habits of going and working out, my habits of going out and getting my steps in and walking in the park, or my habits of what I eat from a nutrition perspective, my habits of counting calories. Like, those are all things that I've developed as far as habits that, now that they're habits, they're actually very difficult to break. Like, I noticed when I just went on vacation to Grand Cayman, the first thing I did is I found where they had a 24, before I even got there, I found where they had a 24-hour access gym. I already bought a membership. You know, I was able to go and do my routines, because it's my habit. I need a place to go and lift while I'm on vacation. It's not that I don't want to sit there and relax, but to me, going to the gym is part of my way, as brushing my teeth is, as putting my deodorant on. So it's just, breaking those habits is actually becoming more difficult to do than, you know, going back and reverting to my old self. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, this weekend, you know, kids had a great tournament, so we went out and got some ice cream, and I'm probably over by 400 or 500 calories on my Sunday.
Was it Cold Stone? Did you go to Cold Stone?
It was Cold Stone. It was Cold
Nice.
Stone.
Yeah, okay.
It was Cold Stone.
I get it. That's okay. It's absolutely fine.
We've decided that it doesn't count in your calories. It's
I
just
agree. I absolutely agree. Yeah.
But those times to enjoy are things that, you know, you're going to have. But in the grand scheme of things, you know, if you have 6 months where you're doing great, and out of there you've had 5 or 10 days that you've you know, eaten something different that you normally wouldn't have, that's fine in the grand scheme of things, right? And I think that's the big thing that people miss, is that they have to be super stringent all the time, and that's not the case. You know, we can live our lives and enjoy food and enjoy things that we do out there. It's just the habits that we build around the long-term side of the house that becomes the most important.
Yeah, and what you touched on identity, and like I would have joked about cancer and joked about, like, my Twitter handle was Chancer Patient, cancer with a H, and it's like, I still, like, one of the days I was texting a friend, and it's like, I'm done. I do not identify with that human anymore. Like, change the Twitter handle, threw out clothes. It's like, nope. And that's I remember I had a conversation with a cousin and a good friend. And it's like, look, when you get through this, you don't hang around with cancer patients. You don't talk the stuff they talk, because there's just forums full of people talking about the treatments they had, and it's like, get around healthy people. What are they talking about? What are they consuming? What are they putting into their bodies? Because the chatter, you're talking to yourself. Like, the subconscious doesn't register humor. It just accepts it plain flat out for what it is. And the importance of that identity. This is what I do. This is who I am.
Yep.
It's not a challenge to do it. It's a challenge not to do it.
Yeah. And how did? Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I think that you know, the identity thing is a big one, and I see it in clients all the time, that they, you know, and Dave, I mean, you're exactly the same. Like, I can use you as an example because you're here, obviously, but, you know, you struggle to, back at the start, you struggle to identify not as old Dave or former Dave or big Dave or whatever fucking Dave you want to call him. And it's like, now you're this person. And I notice it in Chris as well. Like, I was literally there with him, and I could see him, like, catch himself whenever we were training in the mirror, and he's like, he almost can't believe that the person in the mirror is him, and he still sees himself as the person he is before. So, like, that's obviously, you know, we've spoken about mindset and stuff like that before, but overcoming that, and even, I guess, for myself, I guess I can talk from my own, you know, my own experience. Like, I did a post recently about when I used to be a pisshead, and there's a picture of me with, like, a bottle of Hennessy and a bottle of Jägermeister, and I always would have looked back negatively on that. But again, you know, same as you're both talking about experience there, like, I wouldn't be this person right now if I hadn't been that person. Like, I wouldn't have had, well, I wouldn't have had the same experiences, let's say, but that led me to here, to be able to have the conversations that I have, to be able to have the sort of perspective that I have. And I guess that, you know, you can always look back on those things as a negative, but if you have the right perspective, I wouldn't be here for being that, I wouldn't be this person if I wasn't that person.
So that leads me into the next conversation. So Shaun, you focus very much on mental health and focus on breathing and all these different areas. What led you into that? And give us a little bit of background about where you're at today and how you help others. Because I think that's important. Because my first experience with you was going through that breathing journey that we did, adventure.
Tell the truth, right? No, tell the truth. You weren't up for it. You were like, this is going to be some woo-woo shit. I'm like,
yeah, I was, like when you do something that you've never done before, right? You're always skeptical as a human being, in general. And when Ben's like, we're gonna have a breathing coach come on and talk through, or walk you through like a breathing journey or adventure or whatever. And I was like, what the hell is this? I think like the week before, yeah, pretty much. I'm like, we're gonna get some weed here afterwards or something. I think like the week before, Ben had somebody that was talking about like menstrual cycles in women, and I'm like, what did I join here? What is going on? And I was actually really blown away by the experience, and it was one of those things where, at first I was like, okay, let's just go through this and get it over with, and then I came out with it with like, wow, this was incredible. Like I actually had a really good time with it. I felt, a mixture of emotions, everything from, craziness, chaos to relaxation and neutrality of my mind. So, talk a little bit about what you do, because I think it's important for those to understand, like there are things that we can do in our own bodies with ourselves that can completely change our perspectives on everything, and it's just, to me, I thought it was an awesome experience. Second time around, the same exact thing, amazing experience. So, a little bit of background would be awesome.
Yeah, how I got into the breath work and meditation and that side of things. At the time, I was taking EPO once a week. I was taking Neupogen twice a week. Neupogen is an injection that artificially boosts your immune system. So my platelets were shockingly low. My bone marrow just wasn't performing. They were talking about doing a second experimental stem cell transplant under a specialist team in London. We actually had an apartment booked. We had different things looked at. We had a boat booked because I couldn't fly. And I was out walking on a Sunday morning. And at this stage, I think it was about 2018, Wim Hof had come up in different like I'd sort of heard Tim Ferriss reference him, and I heard, he was kind of he was on the radar, but no idea what it was. So Sunday morning, put on episode 712 of Joe Rogan, and was just walking around outside, and he was talking about how we can influence our, the bone marrow, we can influence different things within our body. And my wife is a doctor, so I came in and played the section that I was listening to, and it broke down the bone marrow and the T cells and the influencing of this and that, and just about it. I don't know the medical nomenclature to go into it. And she was like, "That's exactly your issue. That's what's causing your problems. Your bone marrow is not firing." And at the time, I was getting recurring radiotherapy. Sort of, I don't really grow a beard on the side of my face from radiotherapy, and so I was having recurring sinus infections because of what going to be a very small bit of phlegm in the back of my head. That would lead to a small head cold, which would lead to a drip down to my chest infection. You end up in hospital for 10 days and antibiotics. It physically sets you back, and then more importantly, it mentally sets you back, because it's that identity again of, oh shit, I am someone who gets sick, and that's a hard thing to break. So listen to this, and like literally that day, full gung-ho into full breathing sessions, cold showers, standing, no idea what I was doing.
All in, straight away.
Like, this feels amazing, I'm going to do it. Downloaded the app, downloaded the 10-week course, went through that. And with the daily breath work, what I noticed was every morning I was clearing my sinuses. I didn't even realize there's stuff there. So realized after 10, 15 weeks, like, I haven't had a sinus infection since I started doing this, because I'm clearing things out. And from the post-transplant, I have a condition called graft versus host disease. So that is where my donor's cells fight my cells. So it's graft, my sister's cells, I'm the host, and they clash. So the idea being that because my body grew cancer, it doesn't recognize it as foreign, whereas the donor cells do recognize it as foreign, so they will, annihilate it. But the downside being is that they can also just wipe out your kidneys, your liver, everything else. Same reason a liver transplant will be on tacrolimus or immune suppressants for the rest of their life, so the body accepts the liver. Just going to have a drink of water. So one of the side effects I get with that, it's rashes on the side of my body, which are quite painful. No, I tell a lie, were quite painful. And this is one of those things, again, for perspective. I was feeling sorry for myself, and I Googled a few forums, and I came off there within 5 minutes, like, okay, I am super fortunate. These are my side effects. There's people who have really, really, really challenging side effects with this, and it's just like, oh, shit, okay, stop complaining. So about a month into taking cold showers, I decided to treat myself on a Saturday to a warm shower. Came out of the warm shower and was like, ooh, there's that stinging that I haven't felt in a very long time. And realized, hold on, what's happening here? So I realized I could suppress and help my rashes and skin condition by cold showers. Then went to an in-person Wim Hof workshop, and this guy was trained in other breath modalities. So we had a full hour-long experience, much similar, a little more aggressive than the one we would have had. And I, much like yourself, I was like, what the hell was that? What have I just experienced? You know, he didn't really tee us up, just lie down and let's start breathing. I was like, whew. So that took me down a rabbit hole of wanting to learn more about breath work and the techniques. So signed up with Patrick McKeown in Galway and the Auction Advantage, thinking that this was the keys to the magic kingdom of breath work. And this was fully science-based, fully sports-based, performance breathing, how you should be breathing during the day, how you should be breathing at night, the importance of nasal breathing. And I was like, I didn't fucking sign up for this. It's like, I want the trippy stuff. But then realized very quickly that, okay, this is actually really important. And the real turning point for me is that I don't really produce saliva. It's, again, a chronic, just an after effect. So I've had teeth issues and gum recession and different things. And I was just told, look, a dry mouth is what you're going to have to, just put up with it. It's what you're going to do. So every morning I'm waking up with a super dry mouth, knowing that like that's affecting my teeth and gums. So one of the things Patrick McKeown talked about was if you wake up with a dry mouth, you should be taping your mouth at night. I was like, okay, this is pretty fucking mental, but I'll give it a go. Tape my mouth. I haven't had a dry mouth in 2 years. Noticed that when I was training through my nose, I would find I would sweat more, obviously, because I'm not pushing all my flipping, my oxygen out through my mouth. It's not coming out through my pores. Then from that led, so I got the science, accidentally got the science in the background based on breathing, then moved on, found out training for the Alchemy of Breath, which was the team I trained with. They're based globally, headquartered in Hong Kong, I think. And that led me on quite a journey. It was an 8-month personal journey of, a little bit of breath work and a lot about your own dealing with your own shit that you kind of bottle up. And I think as a lot of men, we tend to do that anyway. I was working as a financial advisor at the time, and long story short, moved careers. Then the career I switched to, the company went belly up. And I just took that as a sign from the universe to get moving on, putting the good stuff out there with breath work, with meditation. And then the 555 Club, which is the core of the business at the minute, that was never really meant to be a business. That was meant to be a free offering for people to bring them to breathwork, to bring them to the importance of that. The reviews from that started coming in from people of really affected by it. So it's literally live calls with 5 minutes of 5 minutes of breathwork, 5 minutes of meditation, and 5 minutes of gratitude journaling. I got contacted by a local mental health organization. They asked, could I do this in person? Ended up doing a few sessions in person. That led to more sessions, led to more reviews, turned into more work. And then got to the point of, okay, much the way Ben on the gym floors, it's amazing, but Ben can't coach people in America on the gym floor. So it was like, how do I scale this? How do I get to more people? And then put a plan together, moved it all onto Zoom. It now runs 5 times a day, 5 times a week. We've had everywhere from Tennessee to Vancouver is as far west as we've been, and the Philippines is as far the other way as we've been. Just people dropping in from different businesses, different coaches, literally everything from sports coaches to businesses to sales teams. It's quite a wide burst of people tuning in to breathe, to meditate, and to express gratitude. It's quite powerful.
I think it's great that, obviously that came from your experience and your journey and wanting to learn and things like that. Obviously, the reason that I got in contact is for the trippy stuff, as you say, and anytime I try to describe it, and even I've done this on calls with clients, and like, Shaun's coming in next week, and for people who haven't heard, I'm like, where do I even fucking start with this? So I'll say, like, number one, actually, to you, like, I would actually like to bring you on the call and do the like day-to-day breathing stuff, because I think that obviously we all do it every single day, all day, but to do it actually properly, to, in different situations or with different feelings or with different emotions, what way you should breathe and how you can actually control and handle that is obviously one side of it. But the good shit is the unlocking the keys to the kingdom, is the way that I describe it. And it is like nothing I have ever experienced before. It is the most outer body experience. Like, if you fully commit to it, and I try and get this to the guys, it's like, you come in and you half-ass it, you're not really paying attention and whatever, but if you fully go all in on that, was like 45 minutes, whatever it is, like, what you can come out the other side is from just your breathing is like something insane. Like I was literally and I think you remember, like, I was in tears the last time that we had the call, and I was like, I'm not really an emotional guy, but clearly I was literally down here, and I was like, what the fuck has happened? But I think all obviously from controlling and managing your breathing.
There's so much you can touch on, from getting a grip in a stressful situation, which is like the example that this isn't fluffy shit is that the SEALs are trained in this, and like, they're not known to be
fluffy,
over cuddly, fluffy gentlemen.
I knew quite a few of those folks, and they're definitely not fluffy gentlemen.
And then the other, like the trippier side of stuff, like that goes back thousands of years. But most recently, where it kind of started coming more Western, was there was a doctor, Stan Groff, and he was treating Vietnamese ex-vets for PTSD with LSD and having phenomenal results with that. Obviously, LSD got outlawed, so that shut down his work there. And he looked for how do I stimulate a similar effect without going illegal? And he came up with what's called holotropic breathing, which is 3 hours of the most intense breath. You'll come out, like, it is breath work. But then he started finding yet really powerful way of getting the emotions out. You're bypassing that thinking brain, you're getting into the body and letting it out. And then the breath work that we do, the conscious connected breathing, is a much more gentle form of that. It was described once as like holotropics kicking the door down. This breath work is trying to pick the lock. You're just, and
I want to kick the door down. Stop now. I'm like, I want to kick the door down.
But yeah, it's really powerful. And for anyone who's listening, it's literally, you can't explain it until you've gone through it. But
I think
anything from pure joy and happiness to quite challenging situations to, that was a nice 30-40 minutes of lying down, listening to music with some guy talking to me. And that is literally the range you can have.
Yeah, I think, and I mean, I had experience with it before, and probably something similar. Like, I was a bit skeptical to what Dave was saying. It was a long time ago, but I was like, I could see the benefits of it, and I was like, if I fully commit to this, I know that I can get a lot more from it. But you're right, like, there's no way to describe it without going through it. And I guess, and you say this, everybody's experience is different. There could have been 20 people on the call, and every single person on the call had a different journey, a different experience, but we were all going through the same thing. Yeah.
And your journey will be different every time. That's like, you could do the same playlist, the same words at the same time, 1 week apart, and it'll be night and day.
Yeah. I think.
What are some of the main health benefits, from those types of breathing exercises? Obviously you had some benefits specifically that were for you. What has been known as far as the benefits of this and kind of the impact it has on somebody? If
you're doing the hour-long conscious connected breathing, if it's purely for health reasons, you're there. For me, that is more an emotional discharge, an emotional release, clearing. I've one guy books in calls, and he uses it to switch off his thinking brain, and he sits with a journal afterwards, and he gets ideas for his business, and that's literally what it is. For health benefits, I would look more, and it comes down again to what are you looking to achieve? What's your goal here?
I want to be able to beat Ben on a deadlift, so on rack pulls.
I've got just the breath for you.
Sweet. Okay,
Contact me afterwards.
yeah. Sweet, got some key codes.
It's the way whenever I was doing a lot more of the functional breathing, the way I described it was like, look, you can look for high performance and you can look for all these hacks and tips and tricks, but literally the one thing you're doing every minute of every day is breathing. And if you're not breathing efficiently, if you're not breathing to maximize your performance, if you're not, there's no neutral like anything. You're either breathing to hinder yourself or you're breathing to, improve yourself in terms of efficiency, in terms of the situation you're in. So which one are you doing? And it's looking about addressing that first largest foundation of the pyramid. It's the one thing we all do. So it's not going to be sexy, and that's one of the things when people approach me about doing the functional breathing. It's like the first thing I'll say is like, here's the reason people don't do this. It's fucking hard work. It's challenging. It's you'll feel like you've been running, sprinting flat out, and you're just walking around your kitchen holding your nose. It's flipping challenging, but it's important work.
Yeah, I think it's something obviously that we take for granted. We've done it all our life without even thinking about it. And I think, for me, the interesting thing, and I guess probably for a lot of people listening, the interesting thing is, if you're in tune with what you need to do or how you need to manage your breath in certain situations, whether it's a stressful situation or whether you're feeling like this, or even whether it's just if you're in the gym, knowing how to train, or knowing how to breathe while you're training or while you're doing a certain movement, like you know that you can get those 1% more if you're breathing in the right way whenever you're training in a specific way. And I think for me, I would like to, yes, okay, I like the unlocking the keys to the kingdom and the emotional side of it and whatever else, but for me to do that work, to have an understanding of how to do it. And I have a Oak meditation app, and if I know that I'm busy mind and I'm going to struggle to get to sleep, there is a lot of like breath work in it. It's like a 10-minute practice, and then there's like a 30-minute like rainforest shit going on in the background. But even that, like I know that just that alone of me controlling my breathing works for me to go to sleep. And anybody who struggles to sleep, like I would always recommend being able to manage your breathing on that front.
But that was like, for me, one of the biggest switches in, and I say performance lightly because I assure you, it's not. It's more I don't know what the layman term for my performance in a gym is, but I always believe like whenever you're busted and you're trying to get more air in, like obviously breathe more. I think that's probably the least efficient way you can breathe whenever you're trying to recover. It's like carbon dioxide is the most important thing when you're trying to recover, because carbon dioxide lets your oxygen get out of the blood and get to your cells. So whenever you slow your breathing right down to the point of where it's like, oh shit, this is uncomfortable, your body's like, fucking breathe, Ben. At that point, you're putting the carbon dioxide up, which is letting oxygen be released from the blood into the cells, into the muscles, into the tissues. Do that for 6 or 7 breaths and then bring your breath back to normal. And you're improving your recovery, you're improving your performance, you're able to go faster.
So you almost do the opposite of what you naturally think that you should do.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is when I'm gasping for air and I'm just like, I calm that down a little bit and let the process take hold with.
But whenever I'm training with weights, I don't worry about it then at all. Follow the usual in-out breath, and then it's whenever I finish a set and I'm sitting on the bench, it's like, can I minimize my breath through my nose for 6 or 8 breaths? And like your body's like, fuck, it's like, this is horrible. And then it's like, just breathe normally. Because you're just pushing up that carbon dioxide, you're letting the oxygen get out to where it needs to be. Because it's well and good having highly oxygenated blood, but it's your cells and tissues and muscles that need it.
I remember I listened, I think it was like one of the podcasts before, and they had talked about try doing your cardio sessions just breathing through your nose. And I actually tried that a couple times, and I gave up after like 2 weeks, but it was tough. Like it is extremely tough. But it's doable. It's 100% doable. I noticed, just even the short period of time of 2 weeks, that I was able to go longer and keep my heart rate down as I'm going through and doing that, which I thought was really interesting. So, I ended up breathing more through my mouth again. But it's a tough thing but it's something that if you're conscious of, I think you recognize, you start getting into those habits and cycles, it makes a big difference. One of the biggest breathing things that I started doing that has actually made a really big impact in my life is that after a lifting session, your body doesn't know that it's done with the lifting session, and it's still kind of all geared up and jacked up and, full acuity. Your mind's going crazy, your body's in a tense mode. And so, sitting down and laying on your back and going through a breathing exercise for 5 to 10 minutes shuts that mechanics down of your body and puts you into a relaxed state. Because what I was finding is, like, my body would be in that crazy mode for several hours, and then I would crash energy-wise halfway through the day. And just by incorporating a little bit of breathing after my workout period, completely kept my energy levels normalized throughout the entire day, and has really helped out with my training program too.
I think, again, what you're describing there's a lot of really powerful stuff. It's like you're physically telling your body, look, we're not under attack. I'm not trying to change your shape. It's like, we're relaxed. We can chill. And breathing is the only tool you have to do that. And what you talked about, like, there's different beliefs, or some people saying unless you're an elite athlete, you should be nasal breathing all the time. And then there's the gears model, which is like if you're starting out nose, and then as it gets more challenging, nose, mouth, and then as you're at the peak challenge, mouth. And then you'll notice as you come back down again, when you can comfortably nose, that's effectively your natural heart rate monitor. Okay, I'm ready to go. Let's go. Because your nose won't let you push yourself into that high exertion, because you just can't get the oxygen in or the air in.
Isn't there something about, and pardon me if this sounds stupid and it's not true at all, but I thought I had heard that, breathing through your nose actually creates more oxygen in your lungs based on how it, like, keeps the pressure down in how you're actually breathing through your nose. So, like, it normalizes the pressure as you're going through, whereas when you're breathing through your mouth, it's a lot different. Yeah,
it does. Your mouth is literally the panic button. That's what your mouth is. It increases oxygen uptake at a cell level by up to, I think it's 8 to 12% purely by nasal breathing, because of that extra resistance. So because of the resistance, you're increasing the carbon dioxide level in your blood, which is letting the oxygen get out. So by just switching to that, and then one of the paradoxes to this is I talk about this for an hour, and then it's like, okay, let's go do a conscious connected breath session where it's all through the mouth.
I think, and again, I guess, excuse my ignorance, but if there's I guess probably the biggest thing that I see people deal with, and you're probably the same, is stress. Is there any quick fire tips that you can give straight off the bat that people can do, that if they find themselves in a, oh shit, I'm stressed situation, I need to sort of level myself out, like what they can do to sort of control their breathing you can go and do this actionable tip right away and it will help?
Yeah. Step one is, if you're noticing it, you're ahead of 90% of the people, because so many people are just running in that high stress all the time, and that's normal. Whenever you're stressed, what you're looking to do is tell your body that you're safe. If you need to be stressed, like if you're actually under threat, you don't want to be relaxing.
If you're being chased by a bear, then it's fine.
Fucking go. Like, if it's just an imaginary perceived threat, which could be anything. Shit, I forgot to email Ben back, and I'm lying in bed, and it's like your heart rate jacks and everything goes. Like, that's not a threat, but your body perceives it exactly the same way. Slowing the breath down is the most powerful way to calm everything down. It's what you're switching on the parasympathetic nervous system. The simple 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out, really powerful breath. 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out, really powerful. Box breathing, so that'll be, say, 4 seconds in, hold for 4 seconds, 4 seconds out, hold for 4 seconds, and do that in a loop. If that's too easy, go 5 seconds. If it's too hard, go 3 seconds. But it's slowing the breath down. Sorry, I think you're muted there, Dave.
Yeah, sorry. When would you recommend applying those types of exercises, and what are the best tools that we can give to our listeners for incorporating some of those breathing techniques into what they're doing from a routine perspective or throughout the day? When's the best time to go through something like this? And obviously, you do this with your folks that you work with on a regular basis. Are there some tools and tips that you can give folks for that?
Yeah. Again, it comes down to what you're trying to achieve. On the last 5-5-5 session of the day was originally designed, and it still is designed for whenever more Americas and Canada people to give an extra time slot for you guys.
So explain 5-5-5 really quick.
Literally 5 minutes of breath work. Just not quite conscious connected breathing, but a little bit. You're just getting that little buzz, the little tingle. 5 minutes of meditation. So that's just bringing your awareness into the body, slowing everything down. Just The main point of the meditation is to realize that all we have is this moment. You can stress about tomorrow and the thing you said at the bar 5 years ago, or, you know, the conversations you have yourself about the way you used to act or how you were. Like, none of that's productive. You know, this is the only moment we have. This is the only moment I can move the needle on my business, on my body, in my marriage. Anywhere is this moment. It's very easy to make all the plans for tomorrow, or to worry and stress about the quarter deadline or the targets. The point of the meditation is subtly to just keep coming back to this moment, come back into the body, and to realize that you're not your thoughts. It's very easy to run down that super death spiral of negative thoughts. It's like, but then you realize whenever hold on a second, I'm thinking, and I come back to my breath. And then from that, then you take control of the situation again. And then the 5 minutes of gratitude journaling, it's simply grab a journal, grab a pen, and what can you express gratitude for? If you do it at the end of the day, I ask people to stick down a few wins as well. Because if you're not recording small wins, it's very easy to think nothing happened today. You know, like this conversation will be going down as a win. In a year's time, I'll look back and be like, yeah, that was fucking excellent.
Well, and what's great about, I think, the 5-5-5 approach is, you know, it is scientifically backed too. I mean, you look at, I listened to the Huberman Labs podcast, which is
no way, we didn't know that never mentioned.
But you know, he talks about how, you know, just by expressing gratitude changes your neural pathways into being a more gracious person, which is infectious, right? We as human beings enjoy people complimenting us or saying you're doing a great job or things to that effect, and vice versa. You know, so for our own mental health, having positivity and reflecting on positivity is a big thing. Also, spending time just recognizing what's going on in ourselves, and that calm and that ability to detach ourselves from technology and all the distractions that we have day in and day out, and letting our body know, hey, everything is okay. There's no stressors here at this point in time, to really, you know, calm yourself, calm your body, and calm your mental state. And then, you know, backing up, you know, I'm going backwards, but, you know, the breathing exercises to get you to that point and to, you know, bring that oxygen to your body, to go through it, that level of tranquility and being able to get down to that you know, peace of mind. So all those things I think play really well together. And, you know, what's 15 minutes out of a day? You know, that's
1%.
Nothing. 1% of your day, you know, for, you know, a very positive outlook on life, a very positive and relaxed, calm feeling that you've probably never experienced before. And you get into some cyclical effect of that, and it can have a monumental impact, again, like you said, in your business and what you do on a regular basis. I think those are all positive things that you can do regularly.
Yeah, I think that, you know, and Dave, you'll know this from the check-in sheet, and I have a bit in the check-in sheet, like a headspace bit, and it's like gratitude, journaling, meditation, breathwork.
Mine's always 0, by the way. I need to get better.
And I know that people look at it being like, fuck, all right, like, who's this maniac? But, and I also, like, I'm like, I don't practice or do these things all the time, but I'm like, sometimes I will if I feel like I need to. Gratitude I have done for a very long time, and I definitely do believe in it. But, you know, I put them in there because it's like, okay, right, you know, you're going to come with because you want to look different or feel different or whatever it is. But I definitely think this stuff is very worthwhile to do. And the way that you sort of put that together, the way that it's sort of timed, obviously, you know, the times are based in the UK. I have it up here in front of me. I'm not like memorizing the times that you do, but you know, you can sort of set yourself up for the day and then sort of close the day out. Or as you said, with different time zones, you can sort of, you know, Dave or any of the guys over there will be able to set themselves up for the day based on the times.
Yeah, because that's like, at the minute, it's predominantly UK people join the last call of the day. So I've changed that, and like I just do real, like, slowing the system down breathing for that. Like whatever stage we get, you know, more Americans and more Canadians on, then we'll bring it back to the normal breathing. But it's at the minute, it's a down regulator. You can charge your system up, you can slow your system down. And that's, we spend 5 or 6 minutes slow breathing. Again, it's not easy, it's a bit challenging, but I'm guiding it, not doing it, so it's easier for me. Put them through it, and then just the body, you're telling the body, you know what, you can slow down, you can unwind, you can relax, and then you're moving into a very gentle meditation, and then moving into very gentle gratitude or wins.
And I think that you know, I guess the main thing about it is, you know, when do you ever take only 15 minutes to focus on those things, or think, or slow down, or just stop wondering what the fuck's going on around you, and like actually just check in with yourself? And I think, you know, as you said about people who are stressed, they just run on that sort of adrenaline of being stressed. What's the next thing? Have I done this? Have I picked the kids up from school? What I have to do tomorrow? Blah, 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 blah. And they don't actually stop and go, what's going on with me? Like, what happened today? Do you know what I mean? It's just like day by day by day by day.
The one thing I have consistently seen anytime I do a drop in for a business or a coaching group, and it's almost like a private session, is the line, "I didn't know I needed that." It comes up every time. Someone says it every single time. It's like, whoa, didn't realize I was running on empty.
Yeah, I think that's good. And obviously, I mean, I wanted to touch on your I think it was last week, was it your Thursday win from last week?
Oh yeah.
With the call. So I think it's a good way for us to close out.
Yeah, the Thursday one, I've been meaning to do more of those. I had a phone call from my nurse specialist in Dublin, basically saying, "Shaun, completely forgot about you. How is everything? Are you okay?" And I was building garden furniture, and I was like, "Magella, yeah, how are you? I'm fine. How's things in Dublin?" She's like, "Can we get an appointment booked in soon?" I was like, "We can, of course, as long as I have 2 weeks' notice to get someone booked in to cover the 555 slots. We're happy days." But it was one of those phone calls where you realise, wow, is this how far I've come? And I said, this lady at the time literally knew the frequency of my bowel movements. She knew to the milliliter what I was peeing every day. So yeah, just one of those moments of super gratitude, and yeah.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, it's been
awesome.
Obviously, I've followed you, I guess, probably about a year now, so it's good to sort of see how things have progressed and everything you're doing from a business side. I guess where can people find you question has to happen.
Yeah, Instagram _Shaun Doherty, so ShaunDoherty. The 555club.co.uk. If you stick a message in there, that comes straight into my inbox. I haven't linked that comes to I still haven't linked the 555 Club email up. It's still annually, which will be going. And LinkedIn is linkedin.com/the 555 Club. Or if you go into Ben's profile and search Shaun, SHAUN, you'll see me there. And
you're on Twitter. I don't know if that's a new thing because I've been hanging out on Twitter.
I'm more of a lurker on Twitter, and I need to up the game there.
Yeah, I'll obviously put all the links in the show notes and whatever else. And again, thanks for coming on, and thanks for everything you do with coming on,
absolutely, Shaun.
Whatever else. And I'm going to say you'll be on next week, but whenever this is released, it will be tomorrow. So if anybody who is a client who is listening, be on a fucking call tomorrow night because you will not regret it.
I'm going to join that one as well, just because I enjoy those experiences. I learn something new every time too. I think the first one we were in a grassy field, and then we started climbing a mountain, and then
spoiler alert.
Sorry, but it's coming out. It's coming out next week, so we're good. We're good. Yeah, we're good.
That's all good. Right. Anything to add, Shaun? You want to close out?
No, just thank you so much, fellas. This has been incredible, and really inspiring following both your journeys. From the shadows.
Congratulations on all of your success and defeating cancer, and the healthy lifestyle you come on, and then the most important part is you're out there helping others, and I think that's an incredible thing that from a gratitude perspective you can take away. So appreciate everything you do as well.
Yeah, well, it really does mean a lot. Thank you so much.
No worries, and I guess I'll chat to you next week.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks
Take care,
for coming
fellas.
On. Cheers, guys.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.